The night I first saw her, New York felt like it was holding its breath. The air was cool, trembling with the hum of traffic and the soft ache of saxophones spilling from a street corner bar. I was standing on the Brooklyn Bridge, staring at the river lights twisting below, when she appeared beside me as though the city itself had summoned her. She didn't say anything at first. She just leaned on the railing and looked at the same water, and for some reason I couldn't look anywhere else. She was dressed simply, a long coat wrapped tight around her, hair falling across her face as the wind moved through it. The first thing I noticed wasn't her beauty, though she was beautiful, it was her stillness. In a city that never stopped moving, she stood as if time had chosen her to be its pause. When she finally looked at me, something quiet passed between us, a wordless recognition, like meeting someone you already miss. I don't know what made me speak. Maybe loneliness. Maybe fate. I said something about how the river looked like melted glass tonight. She smiled, small and real, and said, "Maybe it's just reflecting all the broken pieces we throw into it." That was the moment everything inside me changed. The way a spark turns into a flame before you even know it's fire. We walked that night without direction, following the heartbeat of the city. She told me her name and I told her mine. We talked about everything that didn't matter and everything that did. The books we never finished, the songs we listened to when we couldn't sleep, the strange comfort of knowing the city would never care about our secrets. Somewhere between midnight and dawn, she laughed, and I remember thinking that sound could heal anything. From that night on, New York stopped being just a city to me. It became a map of her. Every street a memory, every cafe a confession, every rainstorm another chapter. We met often, always by accident, or so we pretended. Sometimes at the library, sometimes in a coffee shop where she would sit by the window sketching strangers. I started timing my days around those chances. If she wasn't there, the hours felt heavier. She never talked much about her past. There were shadows in her eyes that told me not to ask. But when she spoke about the stars, her voice softened. She said she believed that every soul leaves behind a light. And when we look up, we're just seeing people who once loved deeply enough to shine forever. I told her that was the most beautiful thing I'd ever heard. She laughed and said, "Promise me you'll remember that one day." I didn't know then why she wanted me to remember. Our love didn't explode. It unfolded quietly, like dawn creeping into a dark room. There were no grand gestures, no dramatic vows. Just small, steady moments that stitched us together. A shared cup of coffee at 2 a.m. A walk through Central Park after rain. Her head on my shoulder while the city lights blurred behind the fogged window of a taxi. It was simple, but it was everything. The first time she cried, it was because of a movie we watched together. She turned away quickly, embarrassed, but I caught the reflection of tears in her eyes. "I'm not used to endings," she said softly. I told her not every ending was sad. She smiled at me in a way that made me wish I hadn't said it. Weeks became months. Life moved fast, but with her, time felt merciful. We built our own little world inside the noise of New York, and for a while it felt untouchable. But one evening, as the sun drowned behind the skyline, I noticed she looked pale, her hands trembling slightly. I asked if she was okay. She nodded, forced a smile, and said she was just tired. I believed her because I wanted to. That night, as she walked away down the crowded street, I had a strange feeling I couldn't name. Something inside me whispered that love, no matter how deep, was still human. Fragile, fleeting, and cruelly timed. I stood there until she disappeared, not knowing that in the days ahead, I would learn how silence can be louder than any goodbye. She was the kind of person who made you believe the universe had chosen her for a reason. The kind of person who left echoes behind even in her absence. And maybe that's why years later I still return to the places where she once stood. The cafe, the park, the bridge. Because I can still feel her there, hidden in the wind, in the lights, in the rhythm of the city's endless heartbeat. If you ask me now what love really is, I would tell you it's not the laughter or the promises or the nights that feel infinite. It's the moment you realize you've memorized someone's silence. It's knowing that even after they're gone, your heart keeps speaking their name in the language of stars. And that's where this story begins, not with a meeting, but with a memory. Not with forever, but with the one night that changed everything. Because some loves don't fade. They turn into light, and that light becomes the star that watches over us long after we stop looking up. I never believed cities could breathe until I came to New York. It exhales through the steam vents, sighs through the traffic horns, and whispers through the lights reflected on the Hudson at midnight. To most people this city is chaos. To me it was hope until I met her. Her name was Elena Brooks. She was not the kind of woman who demanded attention, yet somehow every room bent toward her presence. I saw her first at the corner of 5th Avenue and 42nd Street outside a little bookstore with peeling paint and a bell that sang when the door opened. I was late for a job interview, clutching my portfolio like a lifeline when she ran right into me, coffee spilling, papers flying, time freezing. Her eyes were the color of twilight after rain. She apologized 1,000 times, though she did not have to. I remember laughing nervously, offering my hand to help her gather her fallen notes. They were sheet music. "You are a musician?" I asked. She smiled, brushing a strand of hair from her face. "Trying to be," she said softly, "though New York makes you earn every note." That was the beginning. Two strangers tangled by accident, tied by destiny. I never got to that interview. Instead, we walked down the street past the yellow taxis into the park where autumn leaves carpeted the paths in shades of gold and rust. She told me about her dream of composing music that could make people feel seen. I told her about my half-broken dream of being a writer, how words had become my only form of prayer. We exchanged numbers, though I did not think she would ever call, but she did. 3 days later at 11:07 p.m. I remember the time because I had been staring at a blank page, wondering if inspiration was a myth. Her voice through the phone was that inspiration. From then we were everywhere together, late-night coffee shops, rooftop diners where the skyline looked like a promise, subway rides filled with laughter and music from buskers who somehow knew the soundtrack of our hearts. Elena believed the universe spoke through coincidences. There are no accidents, she would say, only moments waiting to be noticed. I wanted to believe her. The first time I told her I loved her, it was not planned. We were standing on Brooklyn Bridge as the sun dissolved into the East River. She was sketching the sunset in her notebook, and I said it quietly like a confession. She froze for a moment, then looked up at me with tears glistening like stars. "You should not love me," she whispered. "I am not made for forever." I thought she meant it metaphorically, that she was a free spirit afraid of being tied down. I laughed it off, kissed her forehead, and told her forever was overrated anyway. But there was something in her eyes that night, a sorrow I could not name. Months passed and New York changed seasons. Winter came, wrapping the city in silver loneliness. Elena began disappearing for days. No calls, no texts. When she would return, she would smile as if nothing had happened. I did not ask. I was too scared of the answers. Then one morning I woke up to find her standing by my window, staring at the city as snow fell like fragments of dreams. Her face was pale, too pale. "I need to tell you something," she said. And that is where my story truly begins. The moment love stopped being a dream and became the echo of everything I was afraid to lose. She stood by the window, her breath fogging the glass, tracing invisible patterns like she was writing something the world was never meant to read. The city outside was quiet, New York hushed under a blanket of snow, as if it too was holding its breath. "I need to tell you something," she said again, her voice trembling between fear and resolve. I sat up slowly, feeling the heaviness in the air. "Elena, whatever it is, we will figure it out," I whispered. She turned toward me, and for the first time I noticed how fragile she looked, like a melody that could shatter if played too loudly. Her hands were cold. She sat beside me, took a deep breath, and finally said the words that cracked my world open. "I am sick." At first I thought she meant a cold, maybe the flu, something temporary, but then she kept speaking each word slower than the one before it. "I have leukemia. I was diagnosed last year. I thought I was getting better," but she looked away, her voice breaking. "It is back." The silence that followed was unbearable. I remember the hum of the heater, the faint sound of a siren in the distance, the way the snowflakes melted against the glass, all of it clearer than her next breath. I wanted to say something comforting, something powerful, but all I managed was, "Why did you not tell me?" "Because you would have stayed," she said, tears sliding down her cheeks, "and I did not want to be your reason for sadness. You were finally writing again, living again. I did not want to steal that from you." I took her hands, holding them against my chest. "Elena, you are not stealing anything. You are the reason I feel alive." She smiled faintly. "You always say the right thing at the wrong time." That night we did not talk much. We just lay together in silence, her heartbeat faint against mine, both of us pretending not to hear the ticking clock that seemed louder than ever. The next morning she was gone. No note, no message, just a folded piece of sheet music on my desk, blank except for one line written in pencil. "If I cannot live through time, let my music do it for me." I searched every corner of the city, the bookstore, the subway platforms, the park where we first met. She had vanished like a forgotten lyric, days turned into weeks. Then one evening as I was walking past Lincoln Center, I heard it, a familiar tune floating through the cold night air. A pianist was playing near the steps, and the melody hit me like lightning. It was hers, Elena's composition. I followed the sound inside into a small recital hall. And there she was, pale, fragile yet radiant under the stage lights, playing her soul into the piano, every note trembling with beauty and pain. When she finished, the applause was thunderous. She looked up and found me in the crowd. For a second the world stopped. Afterward I met her backstage. She smiled softly. "You came." "I never stopped," I said. She reached out, touching my face gently. "I wanted you to hear my final piece." "Final," I repeated, the word cutting through me. She nodded. "They do not think I have much time, but tonight I wanted to feel alive, to play for you, for us." I felt the tears come before I could stop them. "Then let us not waste what is left," I said. "We will write together, travel, laugh, do everything you ever wanted." Her lips curved into a sad smile. "No, my love, some journeys are meant to end beautifully, not endlessly." I held her close that night, afraid that if I blinked she would disappear again. Outside the snow kept falling, soft, endless, and silent, like the world was mourning something it did not understand. The days that followed felt like borrowed time, a fragile thread stretched between hope and heartbreak. Every morning, I woke up wondering how many more sunrises we had left together. Every night I prayed for one more. Elena had moved into my apartment again, her laughter echoing faintly through the halls that once held only silence. But there was a difference now. Behind her smiles lived a quiet exhaustion, and behind her music a trembling truth we both refused to speak aloud. The doctors gave her months, she called them moments, and she was determined to fill each one with life. We made a list, Elena's winter wishes she called it. It was not long, but it was beautiful. Watch the sunrise from the top of the Empire State Building. Dance in Times Square when it is empty. Leave love letters in random library books. Record one final song. Say goodbye without saying goodbye. We started with the sunrise. The city was still asleep when we reached the observation deck. The wind was sharp, but she stood tall, her eyes fixed on the horizon. When the first light broke through the clouds, it painted her face in gold. "Do you think the sun ever gets tired of rising?" she whispered. "Maybe, but it still does it for people like you," I said. She laughed softly. "You always make tragedy sound poetic." We checked off each wish slowly. One night, long after midnight, we danced in the middle of Times Square. While snowflakes swirled like confetti, the lights around us flickered and shimmered, and for that fleeting moment we were the only two people in the universe. Another afternoon we slipped into the New York Public Library and hid tiny folded notes inside random books. Words like "love does not need forever to be real," or "if you find this, believe in miracles." She wanted her love to outlive her, in paper in strangers' hands in the quiet corners of the city she adored. But her body was growing weaker. Some days she could not even get out of bed. She would hum faintly instead, her fingers twitching as if still playing invisible piano keys. I would sit beside her, reading my stories aloud, stories she had once inspired, stories now built entirely around her. "You are writing again," she said one evening, her voice thin but warm. "Because of you," I said. She smiled faintly. "Then maybe that is how I will stay in your words." We recorded her final song a week later. She called it "The City That Still Breathes." Each note sounded like a heartbeat fading in slow motion. I watched her from behind the glass of the studio booth, fragile, determined, ethereal. When she finished, there was a silence that even time did not dare interrupt. "I want you to promise me something," she said afterward. "Anything," I said. "When I am gone, do not stop writing. Do not turn grief into a cage. Let it become a window." I nodded, unable to speak. That night she fell asleep in my arms while the snow continued to fall outside, soft, endless, merciless. I listened to her breathing, memorizing every rise and fall, afraid to close my eyes in case the morning stole her from me. And somewhere between midnight and dawn she whispered in her sleep, "Thank you for finding me." I did not know it then, but that was the last night we would ever have together. I walked through the empty streets of New York, the lights blurred in my eyes, the air cold and heavy. The city that once sang now whispered her name. I reached the bridge where we stood that night when she promised forever. I looked at the same skyline, but it felt broken tonight. Every building, every flicker of light felt like a heartbeat that no longer belonged to me. I closed my eyes and heard her laugh echoing in the wind, the sound so soft, so close I could almost touch it. My chest tightened. I whispered her name, but only silence answered. I kept walking, the ground beneath me trembling as if the world was falling apart with me. That morning she had left a note. It said, "Sometimes love is not about staying, it is about letting go." I did not understand it then, I do now. Maybe she knew the storm was coming. Maybe she was saving me from the wreckage of her own pain. I found her necklace, the one she always wore, the small heart pendant shining faintly in the morning light. I held it tight. It felt warm, like it still carried her pulse. Days turned into nights and nights turned into ghosts. I stopped talking to people. I stopped sleeping. I kept hearing her voice in my dreams, calling my name over and over until I woke up in tears. Every morning, I would walk to the same cafe where we first met. The waiter would look at me with pity. I would order her favorite coffee and leave it untouched, the steam rising like a spirit fading into air. One evening it rained so hard that the city looked like it was crying with me. I walked without an umbrella, my clothes soaked, my body numb, but my heart still burning with the memory of her. I stood again at the bridge and looked down at the dark water below. It felt alive, restless, endless, just like my pain. I whispered, I forgive you, I forgive myself too. The wind blew hard as if carrying my words away into the unknown. I think that is when I realized love never truly ends, it just changes form. It hides in raindrops, in the sound of traffic, in the scent of her perfume passing by strangers. It lingers quietly, waiting to be remembered. I walked away from the bridge, not healed, not free, but aware that she would live in every breath I take, every dream I chase, every sunrise I dare to see alone. And though she was gone from this world, she would never be gone from me, because some loves are not meant to be held, they are meant to be felt, like the last note of a song that never fades away. Years passed, but the city never changed. The same restless noise, the same glowing lights, the same heartbeat echoing through the streets. I walked older, quieter, softer. I had stopped searching for her in the crowd, yet she was everywhere, in the corner table of that cafe, in the reflection of the train window, in the laughter of a stranger passing by. I built a life. I learned to smile again. I learned to wake up without the weight of her goodbye. I wrote stories, I traveled, I pretended I was free, but every sunset pulled me back to that bridge, to that night when time stood still and she said forever. One autumn evening I returned to Central Park, the trees gold and dying, the wind gentle and kind. I carried a small letter with her name written on it. I sat on the same bench where she once rested, her head on my shoulder, and I began to read words I had written over the years, words I never said. I told her about the dreams we never lived, the promises I still kept, the places I saw, hoping she was watching. I told her that I still loved her, not with pain but with peace. The sun began to fall behind the skyline, painting the city in fire and gold. I closed my eyes, and for a moment I felt her again, her hand light on mine, her voice whispering that everything was alright. It felt real, so real that I opened my eyes and almost called her name, but the bench was empty, the air still, only the faint scent of her perfume remained, carried by the evening wind. I smiled for the first time without tears, because I understood love like ours never dies. It becomes air, it becomes light, it becomes the invisible thread that ties two souls across time and distance. I stood up, placed the letter on the bench, and walked away, the city alive around me, my heart no longer broken, just marked. That night as I looked up at the stars above New York, I saw one shining brighter than the rest, and I whispered softly into the cold air, I found you and I let you go, but you will always be my forever. Years later the world had changed, but the night sky over New York still looked the same, endless, glowing, alive with stories untold. I sat by my apartment window staring at that one bright star above Manhattan, the same one I used to talk to when I missed her, the one that never left me. On my desk lay a book, its cover soft, its title simple, The Star Above Manhattan. It was our story, written in fragments of memory and breaths of truth, in words I could never say to her when she was here. I had poured every heartbeat into those pages, every silence, every dream. And now it was finally done. I smiled knowing she would have loved it, because it was not about pain, it was about love that never asked to be understood, only remembered. I opened the window and felt the night air wrap around me. The city's hum below sounded like a lullaby for lost souls. I whispered her name once more, not in sorrow but in gratitude, because she had taught me what love truly was, not the holding on, but the letting go, not the forever we plan, but the forever we feel even after the world moves on. The book was published that winter. It found readers. People wrote letters saying it made them believe in love again. Some said it healed them, others said it broke them a little more. But every message carried a piece of what we once were. And I knew then that her story was alive again, living in strangers' hearts. One snowy night I walked once more to that old bridge, the wind colder, the city quieter, the lights reflecting on the frozen river. I looked up and saw that same star brighter than ever. I smiled, whispered thank you, and left a copy of the book on the railing wrapped in her favorite ribbon, red and soft. It fluttered gently in the breeze as if she was taking it from my hands. I walked away slowly, the snow falling around me, each step lighter than the one before. I did not look back, because I knew she was there somewhere above the city, watching, guiding, smiling the same way she used to when she believed in us. And as I disappeared into the night, I knew that some loves never fade, they just turn into light, into stories, into stars that keep shining, even when the night grows dark forever. It was a quiet Sunday morning, the kind of morning where the city still slept, and the air smelled like rain. I was cleaning the apartment, sorting through old boxes I had kept tucked away in the corner of the closet, untouched for years. One of them was labeled with her name. I hesitated for a long time before opening it. The cardboard was soft from age, and the dust rose like smoke when I lifted the lid. Inside were small pieces of our world, a photo from Central Park, a ticket from our first movie, a dried flower she once placed in my book, and then at the very bottom a small white envelope, sealed and untouched. It had my name written in her handwriting, delicate and familiar. I froze for a moment, the room spinning as memories flooded back. I opened it slowly, my hands trembling, the paper soft, fragile, like it had been waiting all this time for me to be ready. The letter was short, only a few lines, but each word burned into my heart. If you're reading this, it means I couldn't stay long enough to say goodbye properly. Please don't hate me. I was sick. And I didn't want you to watch me fade away. I wanted you to remember me when I was alive, when I laughed, when I dreamed. I wanted you to keep writing because your words will be the part of me that never dies. When you look at the stars, think of me there. I'll be the one that shines the longest. I love you always, even after always. I couldn't breathe for a while. I sat there with the letter pressed against my chest, my tears falling silently. I finally understood the silence she left behind, not out of cruelty but love. She was protecting me from the slow, cruel truth of her own fading. She wanted to leave behind beauty, not pain, and somehow she did. That evening I returned to the bridge with the letter in my coat pocket. The city was glowing beneath the twilight sky. I took the letter out and read it again aloud, letting the words float into the wind. The river below caught them, carried them away like whispers across the water. I smiled softly and said, I love you too. Then I looked up and saw that same star above Manhattan, brighter than ever, unmoving, eternal. And in that moment I felt her there, truly there, not a ghost, not a memory, but a presence, soft and calm, like she had never left at all. I walked home lighter than I had ever been, the letter now framed on my desk beside her photograph, and I knew that our story had not ended. It had only changed form. It had become light, it had become peace, and somewhere far beyond the skyline she was smiling still. It happened on a quiet winter night, the kind where the city felt half asleep and every sound echoed a little too long. I was sitting by the window with a cup of coffee, the book resting open beside me, when my phone suddenly rang. The number was unknown. I almost ignored it, but something deep inside told me to answer. I said hello, and for a moment there was only silence, and then a soft voice spoke my name, the way she used to say it, gentle, uncertain, almost trembling. My heart stopped. I couldn't speak, I couldn't breathe. I thought maybe it was the wind, maybe a dream, but the voice spoke again, slow and warm, just like hers. It said, you kept your promise. I whispered her name into the phone, but there was only static on the other end, faint like waves on a distant shore. Then the voice said, thank you for writing, thank you for remembering me, I'm proud of you. And then it faded. The call ended, the screen went dark. I stared at it for a long time, trying to make sense of what had just happened. I checked the call history. There was no record, no number, no trace, just an empty space where the call should have been. I sat there in the dim light, listening to the quiet hum of the city, my heart racing, not from fear, but from something else, something like peace, because deep down I knew it was her. Somehow, in some way, she had reached out across time, across whatever lay between this world and the next. That night I went to the roof of my building, the air cold and clear, the stars sharp and alive above me. I looked up at that same star, the one that had watched me all these years, and I whispered, I heard you, I'll keep writing, I promise. And I swear, for just a moment it flickered brighter, like it was answering me, like it was alive. I stood there for a long time, until the night turned to dawn and the sky began to lighten. And as the first sun touched the glass towers of Manhattan, I felt her there beside me, not haunting me, but holding me quietly, telling me that love never disappears, it just finds new ways to speak. When I went back inside, I wrote the final words of my next book. The last line read, she called once more. And I finally understood, love was never gone, it was only waiting to be heard. The night of the book signing arrived, cold and silver. The city glimmered under soft snow and Manhattan looked like a dream. I stood inside the bookstore, surrounded by shelves and warm yellow light, people lined up with copies of my new book, The Call Beneath the Stars, their faces full of stories, their eyes reflecting the same emotions I once felt years ago. Every person who came forward had something to say. Your words healed me, your story reminded me of someone. I lost, your book helped me say goodbye. I smiled each time, quietly grateful yet humbled, knowing that what began as pain had become light for others. The event was almost over when I noticed her. She stood at the back of the line wearing a dark coat and a scarf wrapped gently around her neck, her face half hidden by shadows. She moved slowly, her presence calm yet strangely familiar. When she finally reached my table, she placed her book in front of me. Without a word I looked up, and for a moment everything around me stopped. Her eyes were the same color as hers, deep, soft, full of quiet storms. My pen froze in my hand. I whispered her name before I could stop myself. The woman smiled gently and said, no, but she told me about you. I blinked, unsure what she meant. She continued, I'm her sister. She wanted you to have this. She reached into her coat pocket and handed me a small velvet pouch tied with a red ribbon, the same ribbon I had left on the bridge years ago. My hand shook as I untied it. Inside was a silver ring, the one she used to wear on her chain, the one I thought I'd lost forever. And a small folded note. I opened it slowly and read her handwriting again. You kept your promise. Thank you for finding me in the stars. Tears filled my eyes. I looked up, but the woman was already walking away, disappearing into the crowd of faces and books and lights. I wanted to call out to her, but something in me said no, let her go. Some goodbyes are not meant to be spoken twice. That night I walked through the snow back toward the bridge, the city glowing like a heartbeat in the distance. I held the ring tightly in my hand. It felt warm, like it carried her pulse. Even now I placed it gently on the railing beside the place where I had left the book so long ago and whispered softly, "I found you again." Then I looked up, the star above Manhattan shining brighter than ever, and I smiled, knowing that love had come full circle, not in life, not in time, but in memory and promise and light. The anniversary came quietly without warning. The calendar said it was just another day, but my heart knew better. The air felt heavier, softer, the kind of silence that speaks more than sound. I woke before dawn, unable to sleep, and decided to walk to the bridge one more time. The city was still dark when I stepped outside. A thin mist hung above the streets, the lamps glowing like tiny suns guiding my way. I carried the ring in my pocket, the silver cool against my fingers as I walked through familiar paths, the same places that once held our laughter, our tears, our promises. When I reached the bridge, the sky was still half asleep, painted in deep blue and silver. I leaned on the railing and looked down at the river, calm and dark, the city's reflection trembling softly. I whispered her name. It felt natural now, not painful, just real, like breathing. I took out the ring and held it up to the sky. The metal caught the first light of morning, and for a second it glowed like fire. Then something strange happened. The air shifted, a faint warmth brushed against my face, and the clouds above parted just enough for one star to remain visible, bright and unwavering. It shouldn't have been there, not in the morning light, yet it was. It pulsed faintly, as if alive. I froze, watching as that star flickered once, twice, and then stayed still, glowing stronger than before. Tears filled my eyes, not of sorrow but wonder. I whispered, "I see you," and the wind answered with a soft rush through the bridge rails, wrapping around me gentle like arms unseen. I closed my eyes, and for the briefest heartbeat I felt her there again, not as memory, not as ghost, but as light all around me, her voice faint and real, as if carried by the wind. "You did it, you lived." When I opened my eyes, the star was gone, the sky bright with the first touch of day. But something inside me had changed. I no longer felt the weight of absence. I felt her in everything, the sound of the city, the rhythm of footsteps, the whisper of wind through skyscrapers. She had become part of the world itself. I placed the ring back on the railing, this time not to leave it behind, but to let it belong to the city, to the sky, to her. I smiled and whispered goodbye, not the kind that ends a story, but the kind that begins peace. As I turned to walk away, a small snowflake drifted down and landed on my hand, melting slowly, warm instead of cold. I looked up and smiled, because I understood now. Love was not gone, it had only changed shape, turned into light, turned into forever. That night from my window I looked once more at the skyline and saw the same star return to its place above Manhattan, shining steady like a promise kept, and I knew that somewhere beyond everything she was smiling, watching her story live on in every heartbeat of this city, and in mine forever. It was late, the world outside quiet, the city lights fading into the night sky. I sat at my desk, the same one where I had written every word of our story. A blank page lay before me, the pen resting between my fingers. For a long time I didn't move. I just watched the candlelight flicker against the window. The reflection of the stars beyond it looked like her eyes, watching from somewhere far away yet close enough to feel. I began to write, not from pain, not from longing, but from peace, the kind that comes when love has turned into something endless. The words flowed slowly, soft, steady, like a heartbeat. My dearest, if you can still hear me, know that I kept every promise. I lived the life you wanted for me. I laughed, I dreamed, I forgave. I learned that love isn't about how long it lasts, but how deeply it stays inside us. You became my silence, my light, my reason to keep breathing. I used to think goodbye meant an ending, but now I know it only means thank you for teaching me how to love beyond time, beyond loss, beyond myself. I stopped for a moment, the ink still wet, my hands trembling, not from sadness but from the weight of everything we had been. I folded the letter, placed it inside an envelope, and wrote on the front, "To the stars above Manhattan." When midnight came I walked to the rooftop. The city stretched below me, alive with 1,000 stories, the wind cold but kind. I held the letter high and let it go. It caught the air and drifted upward, spinning slowly until it disappeared into the night. I watched it until it was gone, until the stars swallowed it whole. And then I saw it again, that one bright star burning steady against the dark sky. I smiled, knowing the letter had found its way home. For a long time I stood there, my heart quiet, no ache, no emptiness, just light, the kind that never fades. I whispered her name one last time, and this time it didn't echo back, because it didn't need to. She was already there, in every breath, in every word, in every heartbeat. As the night deepened and the star above Manhattan shone brighter than ever, I turned away from the edge and walked back inside, leaving the window open, letting the starlight fill the room. And somewhere beyond the city, beyond the world, beyond time itself, she whispered back softly, "I never left." The candle flickered once and went out, but the light remained forever. It happened on a night just like the first one I met her, cold, clean, full of the kind of silence that makes even New York feel like it's listening. The city was still awake, of course, the sirens distant, the hum of lights steady, but inside my chest everything had gone quiet. I felt it the way you feel the sea before a storm. Something was coming, not pain, not fear, just inevitability. The letter I had written to the stars was gone, taken by the wind, swallowed by the night, and yet somehow it had returned to me, not as paper but as feeling, as weightless as breath, as heavy as truth. I sat by the window and watched the lights flicker across Manhattan, each one a small reminder of life, burning bright and fragile and temporary. I wondered how many of those lights belonged to people who were in love, who were awake, who were missing someone they would never see again. I hadn't slept for days. I didn't need to. My dreams were beginning to spill into reality, the line between the two fading away. I kept hearing her voice, soft, gentle, a whisper that came from nowhere and everywhere at once. Sometimes I'd catch the scent of her perfume in the empty room. Sometimes I'd hear her laughter in the static of the radio. Sometimes I'd feel her hand on mine just before I woke. Tonight I couldn't stay inside. The walls felt too small, the air too thin. I needed to see the sky. I needed to see that star one last time. So I put on my coat, the old one she once said made me look like a writer from another century, and I stepped into the street. The snow was falling, slow and endless, the kind that doesn't melt when it touches your skin. It stays a moment before fading away. I walked without direction, following the city's pulse, letting memory guide me. Every street felt familiar, every corner whispered her name, until I found myself standing once again at the bridge, our bridge, the place where everything had begun, and where everything now would end. The water below was black and restless, the wind colder than I remembered. I leaned against the railing, the same one where she once stood, her hair wild, her eyes bright with the reflection of the city she loved so much, and for a moment I could almost see her there again, smiling like she knew something the world didn't. I took out the small velvet pouch that held her ring, the one her sister had given back to me. I turned it over in my fingers, the metal catching what little light the sky had left. I thought about how strange it was that love could outlast the people who created it, how it could move through time unchanged, even when everything else fell apart. I kept my promise, I whispered into the wind. I lived, I wrote, I remembered you, but I don't know how to keep going without the sound of your voice. The wind grew stronger, the city lights blurred beneath a film of snow. And then I saw it, the star above Manhattan, the same one I had watched for years, shining brighter than ever. I stared at it until my eyes stung and tears froze against my cheeks, and I swear it moved closer, like it was reaching for me, pulling me home. I felt dizzy, the bridge swaying beneath me, though I knew it was steady. I closed my eyes and suddenly I was somewhere else, standing in Central Park, the trees bare and glittering with frost. She was there waiting, wearing the same coat from that first night, her hair glowing in the faint light of the moon. She smiled and said, I told you we'd find each other among the stars. I took a step toward her and everything inside me broke open, the air, the sound, the space between us all vanished. I felt warmth again for the first time in years, her hand in mine, her heartbeat steady against my chest. And I realized this was the moment she had promised, the one she said would come when love outlasted everything else. I wanted to tell her everything, all the words I had written, all the nights I had survived, all the times I had looked for her in strangers' faces, but she just shook her head gently and said, you already did, and then she leaned closer, her breath soft against my ear, and whispered, come home. When I opened my eyes, the world was spinning, the snow falling faster, the city below distant and blurred. I felt light, too light. And then nothing at all, no sound, no fear, just silence, pure and endless silence. They found me the next morning, the ring still in my hand, my notebook open beside me, the last page filled with only 4 words. I saw the stars. The paper said it was an accident, they always do, but those who knew me knew better. They said I had been smiling when they found me, eyes open, face calm, like someone who had finally seen what they'd been waiting for all their life. Now when people walk across that bridge, some swear they see a figure standing there at night, a man in a long coat looking up at the sky. They say if you listen closely you can hear him whispering a name, carried by the wind, lost in the hum of the city. And if you follow his gaze you'll find it too, that one star above Manhattan, burning brighter than all the rest. Some say it's just a story, others say it's love refusing to die. But I like to think it's her and me, still there, still together, still shining above the city that once held our hearts forever. Because in the end love doesn't fade, it only changes form. And when the stars fell silent, New York didn't lose another soul, it gained 2 lights that will never go out.